Radio Solent.
Just gone 28 minutes past 7 on your Friday morning. Time now to head over to Swanage. Now, campaigners fighting to save the Purbeck paramedic car say that lives will be put at risk if the service is withdrawn. Now, in February last year, Swanage Town Council learned of a funding threat to the Swanage-based first responders ambulance car. And although the plans to withdraw the service was shelved during the pandemic, which they got kind of struck shortly after, and the Town Council is now urgently seeking a meeting with the CCG, South West Ambulance, as well as local GPs to discuss funding of the service in the future. Debby Monkhouse is Swanage Town Councillor and joins me now. Good morning.
Good morning, Fern.
Thank you so much for joining us. Just for those that don't know of it, just explain exactly what the paramedic car does and why is it under threat?
The paramedic car is basically a fast car staffed by a paramedic that is not supposed to leave Purbeck. Because we're out on a limb, especially here in Swanage, we're at the end of a peninsula. It often takes a long time for ambulances to get here because all the ambulances are in use around the county most of the time. So the car will come and it will do things like maintain life while waiting for the ambulance. I mean, to give you an example, Fern, a few weeks ago, someone here fell off a ladder outside, fractured 2 vertebrae, and they waited 5 hours for an ambulance to come. And that's with the current level of resources here. I mean, we're 20 miles from Poole, and when Poole A&E and maternity go, we'll be almost 30 miles from either Bournemouth or Dorset County, you know, in any kind of medical emergency for an adult or a child, or indeed for a mum having a maternity emergency. So we need support here to protect life until other resources can get here.
Obviously very important then to locals in the area. I know campaign posters have been popping up around Swanage, nearly 7,000 people signing a petition against those plans. So just sum up how the community has reacted to the news that, you know, this local small ambulance could be disappearing.
I mean, it's actually over 7,000 now, the petition. And it's not just posters, Fern, there's banners, people have got garden stakes. I mean, people are incredulous. They cannot believe this is happening. They're also kind of angry and quite scared. People are sending in their stories and quotes. So, for example, I've got a short quote here from someone who manages one of the care homes in Swanage. As a care facility of many clinically vulnerable individuals, I'm unable to stress the risk enough if this is withdrawn from Swanage. So the whole community, sorry, that's my phone, the whole community, you know, are distressed and upset about this. And we don't really understand it because the Clinical Commissioning Group made a promise to Dorset Council in 2018 that with the loss of services from Poole, the ambulance station here would remain open and we would retain the ambulance resources that we had. In fact, they were likely to be increased. So we can't really believe what's happening.
And you've called for a meeting with health bosses, South West Ambulance and obviously local GPs. Have you had assurances that that meeting will actually go ahead?
We've been offered an engagement event, which we're not really quite sure is the same thing as the meeting we'd requested. We wanted to look at the funding for the car and any shortfall and what we might be able to do about that. So we'll be going back clarifying. If we can't come to some arrangement to maintain the funding for the car, then that we certainly will need public engagement events where people here can express how they feel. What we hope for is to retain the car, and when services are lost from Poole, that something will be done to increase the services here.
Okay.
Can I just briefly, I know you need to go to the news, but can I just briefly say, we put in a Freedom of Information Act request to the Ambulance Trust, and it shows that in 2019, there were 996 call-outs just to Swanage for the car, just for the paramedic car. Over half are Category 1 to 3 emergencies, the most serious, and there are 35 a month, Category 1 and 2, that's where there's risk to life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shocking figures. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it, Debbie.
Thank you, Fern.
That's Debby Monkhouse, Swanage Town Councillor. Well, in a joint statement, Dorset, CCG and South West Ambulance Service told us that no changes will be made to the existing service until we've had the opportunity to engage and work with local stakeholders and representatives. We'll, of course, have more in that in the coming weeks.